You got to love it here in the city. Our hearts beat stronger.
Free socks.
The NHL playoff picture is still up in the air, but here in Winnipeg, fans are confident the arena will echo with the sound of white noise again.
Free socks.
Let's go! Go, Jets, go!
Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome back to the landing strip, brought to you by From Financial, and it's another Winnipeg Jets W. 3 straight with this new look Winnipeg Jets top line. And hey, you know if you're a regular on this show, you know I ride the roller coaster. I'll give it to this team when they're down. I'll ride the wave when they're high. And the one thing I've been begging to see is what this team could look like with a bit of a switch up in that top 9. And we're seeing it. And it's given me a lot more to be excited about rather than the brand of hockey we were watching, despite the first place success through it. And I'm excited tonight. I know, hey, it's last show before a bit of a rest and recovery break. I was in house, had some nice tickets. Shout out Cars. 8 rows up in the corner was the time down there tonight. And I just want to get into it with you, Mikey, and the audience tonight. So let's get into it. Mikey, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. That was another, I think that's a classic Winnipeg Jets game. I think that is what we can come to say is their style of game now sometimes. They're going to give you a bit of a sleepy start. They're going to make it a little scary at the beginning, and then they're going to storm onto you as that game goes on. That was a lot of fun to watch. We got the whole roller coaster in that one, and can't wait to get into it with the chat.
And storm they did. But before we get into it, Joyce's TK is calling for it. Play it, boys. It's another Winnipeg Jets win. Let's hear it, Mikey.
Ask and you shall
The
receive.
win song. Oh, baby. I'm feeling good tonight.
Ow!
Ow. And Turd Ferguson has been bugging me, actually, from the YouTube chat that I got to get a smaller version, like maybe a toy saxophone. And when that song gets going, I need to do that over this break, I think. Let's spice things up and get a little more interactive for the crew. That
Writing that
that
down.
song just
Yep,
hits the
I got
spot,
it.
brother.
Nick.
It hits the spot every
Saxophone.
time.
Oh yeah, we're
And
doing
I
that.
don't
I like it.
I don't know if he's in here yet. Huge ass vibes is getting me excited about a potential, no guarantees, a potential return of Sax Squirrel at some point in arena. And if that's the case, I'm gonna go nuts.
Oh, that'd be great.
Speaking of nuts, though, let's go right to them. Nick Ehlers and Adam Lowry, and Alex Eiffel was a big part of this night for them. This new look Winnipeg Jets second line has me feeling significantly better about what the future of this squad could look like over the course of this year. Let's just look at the numbers before we dive into some of the in-game stuff I'm seeing out of them that I continue to love.
Yep.
They played 12 minutes and 40 seconds together at 5-on-5. They outshot their opposition 27-11 in shot attempts. Obviously outscored them 1-0. 82% of the expected goals in a singular game. And then they go to work with 30 seconds left. Get in on the forecheck. Nick Ehlers gets the puck on the half wall. Create some space. And this is one of those things, like, Nick Ehlers is a frustrating player, and today there were some of those frustrating passes. But he is so good at drawing attention to him when he gets moving around in the O-zone. And on that last play, Nick Ehlers does what he does best. He creates space for the players he's playing with, draws 2 checkers in, finds Dylan DeMello, who absolutely rips his second of the season to take this one home. How do you feel about this new look second line in Winnipeg, Mikey?
It's almost like it's what we've been asking for months at this point. It's exactly what they need. It gives them the size that they want to play with. It gives them the speed that they want to play with. You've got finishing on that line. You've got a little bit of everything right now. It just works. They've got chemistry. Honestly, I don't know how you can go back at this point. Adam Lowry has to be cemented in as your second line center when Nemestikov comes back, no matter what. It just you can't go back to it. The results have just been so clear. Dreger mentioned both pregame and during the break with Sarah Orleski that Adam Lowry in that spot uh, is maybe shifting Kevin Cheveldayoff's attention to not strictly a center, but just the best forward available, which again is something we've talked about, right? It's a lot easier to find a really high-end scoring winger than it is a high-end center. So if hopefully that is the signal coming down from management to the coaching staff and to the world at large that Adam Lowry needs to be in that spot. I will go get you a really good winger or a pretty good centerman for your third line, and then a really good piece on defense as opposed to spending all of your pieces on the finding you a center. So I'm hoping that's what that word is right from Dreger. He's kind of been the conduit from the team out to the media in the past about certain things. So yeah, hopefully that's what it is because Adam Lowry has been an absolute force on that second line. He lets Ehlers play the game that we saw where yeah, he's going to take some risks and make some mistakes, but he's also going to have some incredible offensive moments and it gives him that confidence that he gets to do that. Plus the kind of domino effect of Cole Perfetti then going down to the line below gives him more room on the ice. It gives him the ability to play with a little bit more confidence. Just the domino effect is huge. So I could ramble on all day about it, but it's exactly what they need. I'm loving it. I'm loving Adam Lowry in that spot.
Yeah, and a lot of people excited about the end play there. DeMello yellow baby, says Jeff Camille's clutch
Woo.
goal by Mello. Scott Westman says DeMello for Norris and Hart extend him 7 times 13.
Sold.
Rob Somerville says, "How about that DeMello bomb?" And that comes all after the work of that new look second line. Rob also points out Lowry makes Ehlers more defensively responsible. Glizzy Water Soup goes somewhere. My big surprise tonight has been ruined on the new target. I know I was reaching out to Zooch40 last night, and he's gonna know what we're gonna be talking about here in a bit. But I want to save the trade stuff towards the end of the game because there was still a lot in this hockey game I want to get into. But on that second line, on that topic of Rob saying like Lowry makes Ehlers more defensively responsible. Lowry is just such a good support player, and it does seem like Nick Ehlers is being a lot more cautious in that end of the ice, playing with somebody like that, and you see that synchronicity kind of working. Alex Iafallo's role in this one, though, I thought was very prevalent as well.
Yep.
Which is funny because we are going to be talking about upgrading from that spot later in this show. We'll get there down the line, but Alex Iafallo was big in that resurgence for that line too. How many pucks did he knock down and go the other way on an odd man rush and continue the push north for that group? Alex Iafallo, despite where this convo might go towards the end of the show, has done his role completely well on that line. But that Nick Ehlers, Adam Lowry thing, and to hear Dreger talking about, which means the real power figure in Winnipeg is in his ear in Mark Chipman. That relationship goes back to the early 2000s
Yep.
Dreger Moose days. If Chipman's getting in Dreger's ear about the idea that they might have a 2C in Adam Lowry, which is something we've talked about, there's an opportunity here to give this a look and change the way you go about your deadline. The fact it's coming from Dreger, which tells me it's coming from Chipper, that's kind of exciting here. Now, I will say, Choices points out over in the chat, Appleton and Nemestikov returns looming. Will Arneal resist the temptation to go back to his comfort zone? That remains the biggest question for me.
Yeah.
But as a recent failed political rally kind of was talking about, I might have to go Kamala Harris here and say we're not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. This is a great example of why the Winnipeg Jets need to keep Lowry and Nino apart. I thought this was a game where that third line with Nino and Perfetti they created some looks. It wasn't as strong as the last couple of games, and it was a game where I felt um, cardio was a little bit disjointed from that group. We've kind of talked about how Perfetti and Nino really want to work down low. Felt like he was a little high at times for what they're trying to do. It also felt like a lot of times they were dumping it in kind of slow to getting to it.
Yep.
But when they did kind of establish zone time, they were dangerous with it. And what's the one thing we've kind of been talking about lately, that the Winnipeg Jets were very easy to match up against over the last couple of months, despite
Yeah.
being in first place. They were a 500 hockey team for a good stretch of that. And it was easy. You just had to shut down the Winnipeg Jets top line. I thought this was a disappearing act from that top line tonight,
Yep.
and it did not matter. It did not matter. And in the last couple months, it would have. I wasn't impressed, especially we know the heater Scheifele's been on. I thought this was a game where he was really out of it and struggling. And it didn't matter, and that's what you want to see. You don't want to be dependent on that one line at 5-on-5. Obviously, they generate, as a team, 36 shots, only get the one goal at 5-on-5. But efforts like that, and I thought Joey Decor was great. He got the first star in house, probably earned. But on a night where the top line doesn't show up, the bottom 9 does. And that's what you need to see from this Winnipeg Jets team if you want to get excited about a potential long-term run here.
Yeah, absolutely. They've been having Lowry move up into that spot gives them that flexibility where it takes away that ability to just take away one line, and you don't have to worry about scoring anywhere else. And if they can go out and, as we're going to get into later on, find a little extra scoring touch to bring into that middle 6, bottom 9, oh baby, they're going to be cruising.
Yeah, liking what I see there. Luke Armbruster says the line really got the team going after a slow first. And I agree. I thought that line really set the tone for the Winnipeg Jets in this one. Well rewarded. And honestly, well rewarded for Dylan DeMello. We talked about a lot. Obviously, he had a real tough stretch, but we've been talking about how it seems like he's coming on. Obviously scores the big goal. But this is another game where I saw more of the calm, make the good read, just play the simple game, Dylan DeMello, than the blowups. And again, that continues to be a positive sign for the Winnipeg Jets and their top pair. What'd you see from that group tonight?
Yeah, it was a lot better. We've been waiting for the Dylan DeMello turn to come around, because we've we saw the rough start. We had a couple things that you could chalk it. There we go. Up to in terms of off ice things. And we've seen him produce, and we've seen him have success with Josh Morrissey. So we know it can happen. We know that potential is there. And we've really started to see it come around the last few games. It's been getting better and better. And I don't know if you can write a better storybook ending than, your 600th game, 27 seconds left on the clock, and you rock it home. Just an absolute wonderful shot. So yeah, that pairing is finally kind of coming back into its own the way that we expect it to. Especially with Samberg back now on that second pairing, everything kind of just settles right back down. And the Jets are looking, a lot closer to that historic start than they were a few weeks back.
For sure. And that DeMello goal is a reminder here. And I know at ManoKnight427 over on Twitter had kind of replied to my tweet talking about Nick Ehlers creating that space and DeMello ripping it to go up 2-1. It's a great example of what his exact tweet was. Those shots remind you at how even guys who don't put up points in the NHL have wicked skills. That was a shooter shot. Like, he beat the court clean, top corner, and it was great to see.
Yeah, that was an absolutely ridiculous shot. It worked out perfectly. And it's what you want to see from that pairing going forward. So it's kind of coming real nice.
It definitely is. And I thought this was the Dylan Samberg effect. The second pair was great tonight. You see, I even thought this was a game where Neil Pionk was a lot more in control of himself. We know, like, the game could kind of get away with him at times. I thought that second pair, once again, looks to me like a pair that's going to be big for this team, especially with Dylan Samberg anchoring it. The top 4 in Winnipeg seems to be really rounding out here. The top 9, pending some returns, seems to be rounding out here. And this is something to be excited about. And hey, we're used to getting some 91 criticism in our chat and on the phone lines. There's some hype here. Michael Hem says Fet's had 18 minutes POI tonight. He works so well off the boards for a small guy, which is absolutely correct. Every time someone brings up his size, it frustrates me from the element. If you watch Cole Perfetti work along the boards, work out of the corners, he is so good at protecting the puck and being strong on the puck that it's frustrating that continues to be a narrative for me. I see this the same way Michael Hems is. Clearly, Arneal's seeing something from that group he trusts, because that's a big total for Cole Perfetti. We haven't seen him get up there in ice time. Rain says 91 is playing a good overall game. The chances will eventually reward him. If he's offered in a deal for a big fish, you trade him, though. Still probably a fair take. I know you've been, both of us really, but you more so even have been the Cole Perfetti defender. This show, Top Line, is probably the Cole Perfetti fan club. What do you see out of your boy Cole today?
More of the things that have kept me from wanting to go over the edge of the cliff. He protects the puck extremely well, especially for a guy his size. He's so smart away from the puck. He knows where to be on the ice. His positioning is good. He's so active with his stick, man. The stick lifts are just absolutely incredible. You get to really see it on, when you're at the rink or on TV. Everything that the points are going to come. They are. It's for whatever reason, he had the 9-game stretch there where it wasn't going his way. A lot of that's attributed, I think, to, in a spot where it wasn't working with the line mates. Now he's got a much more favorable set of players to play with. He's getting matchups that are much more favorable for him as well. And you're getting to see the confidence now. Like you said earlier, when they got set up in the offensive zone, you really got to see him work. You got to see him cycle. You got to see him look for those spots. He has such a quick shot that can get off without really even looking like it, and it gets to the net. So, yeah, it was another good game, I thought, from Cole. And sure, if you're gonna get a big time player back, you can absolutely, nobody is off limits kind of thing. But unless that impact player is, big time impact center, Elias Pettersson type level guy, unless it's somebody big, Cole Perfetti would not be high on my list of guys to be moving out. I think he's going to be a big piece.
Well, that's the thing. We're actually we were talking about this in a Discord recently about. It's interesting. What I find actually really interesting about both Cole Perfetti and Ville Heinola, who I thought had a really good first period. I think that pair kind of struggled as that game went on. But what I find really interesting about both those players, both being 22, 23 years old, and both being kind of dubbed as offensive performers, what I've seen from both, Cole Perfetti, the thing is, he's pacing just under 50 points, but he's got that solid defensive game. As Luke Ambrewster points out here, 91 created a lot of turnovers today. And that's one area where Cole Perfetti is a full-fledged defensive quality NHL player at his age already, which you almost see it go the opposite way, right? You see forwards come in, they're able to produce offensively, and the defensive side is a work in progress. We'll see if the offense comes, but given what Cole Perfetti does in these areas that we're talking about here, if he gets up to a 55, 60-point player with that defensive impact, that's a really valuable asset to the Winnipeg Jets. And I will continue to say, patience. We've talked about it. It would be hard, next to impossible, to judge Cole Perfetti playing with Nick Ehlers when we both knew that hasn't fit for a year and a half. And now we're seeing it kind of work with a guy like Nino Niederreiter, who I think is a perfect line mate for Cole Perfetti. And I also think you look at that makeup, I think that's a second line caliber unit with a center upgrade type of thing.
Yep.
As your third line, and that's what you kind of want to see when you're getting into the playoffs, right? Like Nino is consistently being a top 6 forward, and if he brings out the best in Cole Perfetti, nothing but good things to come for the Winnipeg Jets in that regard. Choices says 91 just needs a goal nail break loose. I tend to agree. I think we're getting really close here to a bit of a floodgates opening. Obviously had the 2 assists last game. I think it's safe to say that just a little tweak and making sure players are playing with guys that suit their style makes a big difference in what you're seeing out there from both players.
How good would a Paul Stastny at his peak when we then look in between Cole Perfetti and Nino Niederreiter this year? right? Like that type of player, that type of ad on the at center for those two guys. If you can find that player now, you're gonna have a line that's gonna go through the they're gonna go right through the floodgates. It's gonna be a whole fucking wash.
And then on Nino's end, as Choices points out, he draws the penalty that leads to the power play goal. Let's go to the power play quickly. What was that quote from Davis Payne when he was asked about what he's trying to accomplish
A
with the Winnipeg Jets?
recession-proof power play.
Absolutely love the terminology, and the Winnipeg Jets look recession-proof.
Yeah.
How, honestly, watching that tonight, watching that power play that they score on, how do you stop it? Like if you're a penalty killing team, how do you take away all the options that are available on that unit? I mean, we saw Nick Ehlers get a backdoor one-timer, makes a save. Then we see the play develop, ends up with Kyle Connor's shot that ends up to a Mark Scheifele wide open. Net to bury. There's just way too many dangerous options, and using Nick Ehlers, as we've talked about all year, in that Connor McDavid-esque role of being that support player that's looking to create openings and be there available, that power play continues to just absolutely cook here. We're pacing better than Edmonton's record last year, and it's hard to say teams are going to slow this down. What do you do? This power play is recession-proof.
There's really nothing you can do. The movement is so precise and so quick that you don't have enough time to react. Scheifele's out there by himself and alone because the defenders haven't had the opportunity to react to the play yet. They're still processing what happened half a second ago, and that's not an indictment on their penalty killers. That's not being like, these are a bunch of slow guys. No, that's just how quick and how potent this power play is with the movement. You've got Ehlers who can patrol all the way through on that number one unit. And even if you find a way to, because you can attack that top line or that top unit, right? If you get real aggressive with the penalty kill, you can try to kind of offset some of the timing and the movement. You still are going to leave yourself open, and then you still may get potted. But teams have had a little bit more success that way. But then you've got the second unit, which runs it completely differently, to have to contend with right afterwards, who are going to come out and score on you anyways. So it's like you said, it's recession proof right now. They're going to break that record, and I don't know who's going to be able to stop it. If this group gets into the playoffs and you start getting, because penalties go away a little bit, right? Come playoff time, the whistles tend to get tucked away a bit, which makes the few that you get even more important. So I think it's still gonna be a huge, huge piece.
And just to put a bow on that, Choices TK over on Twitch says you don't. Why have you seen teams emphasizing not taking penalties the last few games? It has to be the number one on opposing coaches' boards. Don't take penalties against this team. It's a legitimate weapon every time it comes out. I'm pretty sure I leaned over to my buddy Ribes and said when that penalty came, 1-1. Like, that's how much confidence every time the Winnipeg Jets get a power play, I think something's going to happen.
Speaking of confidence, I'm getting some reporting from the game tonight. Apparently, the Jets weren't the only ones with some game. We have to hide our wives from this man here, Nick Lynham. Apparently, he's got some serious game, and it's very impressive. Can you fill us in on what's going on, Nick?
What's the rumors you're hearing?
We're hearing that there may have been some conversations happening at the game, some maybe some trade scenarios. Somebody may have been trading in a date.
Yeah, I see the Moose Knucklers commenting on that over at Twitch. Nick might have had some beers tonight, and he might have been loose with the lips, and the neighbor might have been enjoying it. We'll leave it at that. Maybe it was the Jets' performance that just had me feeling in my bag, but yeah, I might have put on the charm a little bit tonight.
Well, that's perfect because we've got a caller waiting. You ready?
I'm ready.
Hi, caller. Thanks for holding. You're on the landing strip. What's your name? What would you like to talk about?
Hey, Nick, Mikey, it's Brendan again. Just calling, trying to talk about Dylan Samberg, I guess, just doubling down on the fact that since this guy has come back, we've given up, 3 goals in regulation and 4 overall in the last 4 games. The defensive stalwart that is our top 4, and really, I mean, probably number 2 defensive defenseman on this team. can't say enough good things about him. And I mean, like, what, 22 minutes a night for all four guys on the top four tonight?
Yep.
And hardly gave up anything.
Yeah. Hey, on Dylan Samberg, and you were on this early about Dylan Samberg being the big piece to the Winnipeg Jets being a big his development kind of being right in line with the Jets getting better defensively. How about this? Since he's come back, they played the Vancouver Canucks, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Seattle Kraken. In all three games, the Winnipeg Jets have yet to allow defensively more than 2 expected goals in a game. Like, this is quite some kind of run-in.
Yeah, also, they haven't allowed a penalty goal against either. Their penalty kill since the, the Nashville game, they're 15 of their last 16 penalties they've killed off or something like that. It's maybe 14 of the last 15. Like their PK is picked up a lot. Their power play is still clicking right along. I mean, like, it's an absolute weapon that the other teams are just, they know they can't go in and take a bunch of penalties and be ruthless with their sticks and stuff. And I think if Gabe Vilardi doesn't get that stick to the teeth on the second period or the second penalty, he's out there, and they probably score again early, because when that top unit starts that power play, they have so many options out there, and they can vary from so many different ways. I mean, tipped pucks, redirections, one-timers, rebounds. It doesn't matter like how they get their goals, but they just keep on finding different ways to produce.
Hey, it's hard to disagree with anything you just said. It's fun to watch. As soon as the Jets go on the power play, I don't know the last time I've watched this team consistently and expected a goal on the first power play they get. And yeah, they lose Vilardi for a little bit there, who's obviously a big key piece to all this. It very well could have been another one.
Yeah, and I'm talking about what you guys were talking about earlier with the whole what would you do or what would you give up to trade Cole Perfetti? Like, what would you want to get back in return? And for me, it's got to be a bona fide 2C that you have in control for multiple years to come. It's got to be like 2-3 years at least. And a guy like that, I mean, like, I struggle thinking about like a Bo Horvat or a Matt Barzal. And if the Islanders ever do want to consider breaking up that, I don't know, abomination that Lou Lamoriello has going on over there, I think the Jets would want to pounce on that.
Who are you looking for from that abomination?
Well, I think Barzal would be a good ad, but I mean, he's been that kind of defensive guy in his past. I mean, like, you saw what he did under Barry Trotz, and he wasn't quite the same kind of point producer he was previously, but he turned into a really good two-way center. And I mean, Bo Horvat as well has always been deadly in the circle and can do stuff for you. Like, you've got to. I don't think it's going to happen this year. It's probably going to happen in the off season if the Jets really want to get something going with that. But I think if they're going to have any chance at getting a long, deep playoff runs consistently year after year, you have to find that guy that can play either as like a 1B behind Scheifele that can take a lot of minutes, can be on your first power play, run a second power play on his own if he has to, and just win faceoffs, honestly, too, has got to be a part of that.
Yeah, hard to disagree. It's pretty interesting. This was a game they got hammered in the dot, and it did not matter. Absolutely shell the Seattle Kraken, but I see exactly what you're looking for. Brendan, hey, thanks for the call, and let's dive into some Isles talk, Mikey, because I do have a little update here. Actually, I'm going to disappoint our audience. Obviously, that Barzal report from Carter Brooks of the Hockey News here in Winnipeg was quite the bombshell, and I'm going to pour some cold water on it, unfortunately. From what I've heard through the grapevine, both that report was false, which makes sense. Like, it would surprise me if like anyone but a big insider, and big insiders don't even get stuff from Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah.
We're talking about something between two of the quietest GMs ever. It was definitely not real. And from what I understand, the Winnipeg Jets are on Matt Barzal's no trade clause. So I'm going to pour some cold water there. But I'll say this. I see the chat's pumped. I see Danica Smith talking about 50 games or 50 days away from the trade deadline. It's going to be fun. I see Twitch is all over it already. Mikey, I texted you last night. I wanted to pitch a new ad. You ready for a new vision here?
I'm ready.
Ready to get creative?
Yep.
So we've been talking about how if they switch the top 9 formula, maybe you don't have to swing big on a D-man. Maybe you can go get a nice scoring winger to, put beside Ehlers and Lowry, which would leave you with like Nemeskov, IFL, or whatever on your fourth line, which is a fantastic fourth line. I think we've been focusing on the wrong 2 in Vancouver.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a certain Minnesota-born former UND college hockey player, right shot, that scores 30 to 40 in the league that Mark Chipman would be quite familiar with from his UND days.
Oh, you're gonna
He
make
is
me
a
happy
rental.
here.
How do we feel about the potential of Nick Ehlers and Adam Lowry being flanked by Brock Besser?
Oh, you know how to speak my language. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm a big Brock Besser fan. This is the guy that I've wanted the the Jets to pry out of Vancouver in any way possible. I wanted it last year at the deadline, so that you would have had the extra time to keep him around, kind of thing.
Yep.
So I absolutely love the idea of Besser coming in. He fills that spot perfectly next to Lowry and Ehlers. And yeah, the connection is there. So you've got that off ice, connection that is kind of important in these type of things. So yeah, that would be, oh baby, that's a jersey buy right there.
So it's one of those things where sourcing is a little iffy. I'm not a big Nick Kyprios guy, but I think where he's going makes sense. He was saying last night that, we've heard it all year. The Canucks like their team, but clearly there's a mess going on. And Kyprios was kind of saying that the Canucks like their team, but not enough to keep their own rental. Brock Besser, scoring wingers don't tend to cost nearly as much at the deadline as we've talked about. We also do know it was pretty wildly reported that the Jets were interested in Besser in his draft year. He's only 27 years old. It also creates a little situation where if things go well there, maybe you're having a little debate and maybe you're able to keep one of Besser or Ehlers. Rain, Besser would not cost Perfetti. A rental like that, it's going to cost less than that. I'm looking at like a first-round pick headlining with a guy like Colby Barlow when you're looking at a rental winger.
Yep.
I see Elias McCracken says you don't need a scoring winger with Lowry and Ehlers. You need AI, which we have, which I could not disagree with more. AI is playing great on that role. AI is playing great on that role. But when you get to the playoffs, every piece matters. And if you have AI on your fourth line compared to depending on him in the second line, it makes a massive difference. We've talked about this down the lineup. And that group, you need scoring in your top 6. Definitely intrigued by it. Toronto Sports Network says, dang, you guys want to trade roster players from a team at the top of the league? I think you should always be willing to do that if you can get something better. But I'm just envisioning in my head what I've really liked from the Ehlers Lowry conversation. I was talking about this last, where Lowry is a very good support center. Besser plays more at Lowry's speed than Ehlers, which may be an issue. Like we're kind of in that Toffoli. Yeah, he's faster than Toffoli, but he's also younger. 27, he's in his prime. But you're now looking at Ehlers and like Lowry being that forecheck hard presence. Ehlers being that creator with a potential 30 to 40 goal scorer on that other ring, all of a sudden the Winnipeg Jets look pretty dangerous.
Yeah, that completely changes what that line looks like. And Lowry can easily support Besser with Ehlers with the speed on that side there. So yeah, Besser would fit perfectly right there. The blend would be real nice, and the scoring touch absolutely changes what that line can do. And you become a matchup nightmare for the opposing teams at this point because you've got top line level scoring on that line now. So you're gonna.
I also
go ahead.
I would also point out, like, today's a great example of why the Jets need more scoring. Like,
Yep.
they generated 36 shots on net with 1 5-on-5 goal. I mean, we've talked about that being a big issue as this year's gone on. And I think this new lineup gives you excitement on different ways to go about it and being more dangerous throughout the lineup. But if you can add a piece like that when you were struggling to score at 5-on-5, I'm intrigued.
And not to put a hat on a hat, but if you add another goal scorer to that second power play unit, like I know the power play is already ridiculously good, but can you imagine now you've got another goal scorer on that second unit? It's I want to touch on something you said quickly, just so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. If you make a trade like that and you bring Besser in, that does give you the opportunity. Now you've got both Ehlers and Besser to try to keep one of those guys. It gives the Jets an extra. It gives the Jets an extra, ticket in the offseason to try to keep an NHL, a high level NHL player at that spot. Plus, also it gives them they can negotiate against the other player with it. You know what I mean? It's hey, if you want to walk, that's fine. We're willing to let you walk because we've got this guy sitting right here now. So it's an interesting. From a team standpoint, like it makes a whole lot of fucking sense.
And I know people like to look at playoff numbers. Brock Besser in the playoffs, 11 goals, 12 assists in 29 playoff games.
I think that's pretty good.
Pretty good. And it kind of takes us to the next spot here where Zooch40 says, Lowry doing so well with either shifts the focus to a top D, ? And I see Elias McCracken says, I lost it here. I guess I'd rather spend on a top 2 D man. This is the beauty of it because you're not touching in a Brock Besser rental deal. I don't believe you're touching your top prospects.
No, you won't have to.
Which allows you to still go and be serious about a defenseman.
Yeah. Like
this is the year. There is just too much going well with the core of this team. From Hellebuck being the favorite in Hart voting, a minus 4,000 Vezina favorite as of yesterday, which is absolutely absurd. 97.5% implied odds. You're getting Dylan Samberg. You're getting the top 4 looks solid right now. We'd like to still add to that. We've talked about it. You're getting a big year out of Samberg, cheap. You're getting a big year out of Morrissey, cheap. It's your last year of Ehlers, cheap. Mark Scheifele's one of the leading goal scorers in the NHL right now. Gabe Velarde, cheap. There's just too much right now. This is the time. I know we've talked about it year over year, but if you look at how you win under a salary cap, this is the big moment for Winnipeg. in a league right now where it is pretty wide open. Right now, I think I'd only have Vegas in front of Winnipeg confidently. This is the moment, and it's time. It's time in Winnipeg.
Now, so kind of echoing what Turd Ferguson on YouTube is thinking, is there going to be a top 2D available? Because Turd doesn't think so.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's unless Calgary really tanks, it's hard to imagine.
The latest reports out of Calgary was that stop calling us. We're keeping our guys. We're going to make the playoffs. So that one's not looking as my Mackenzie Weegar dream might be going out the window.
Yeah, that's okay. There's gonna be stuff coming up. We'll wait and see. The market's still developing, but this is a time.
And we're liking what the top 4 is looking like, right? They're rounding into form right now. So if the big ad does become a big scoring winger somewhere up front, or that centerman that we haven't thought of that Chevy somehow finds a way to bring in. They've got options is the nice thing, right? They can go out, they can find the best impact player kind of period, and bring them in. I'm hoping that's what they do because this is the time.
Choices nails it. Need a guy who could finish on that line, and he can finish. Though I think Michael Hems has a fair counter to the Besser thing, and it is something I do worry about a little bit. He says one thing is the Jets' ozone system is high speed, high aggressive system. I'd be worried about Besser's foot speed, and I think that's a valid point in this. I really do, and it is something I would wonder about. Is that the guy? But it was just something that I was kind of thinking about last night as I was trying to sleep, and I saw that Kip Rios report on the top 2D thing. Zooch name's a great name. We'll see if Lou goes there. That would be the dream ad is Noah Dobson. I don't know if that guy will go. We've talked about him for years. Like, that's a big defenseman that you just don't want to give up if you're a team.
Lou does some crazy stuff though, right? Lou's been known to give up on players kind of quickly. So if there's a trade to be made for Noah Dobson, yeah, that checks off a whole all the boxes that the Jets are looking for.
Elias McCracken checks in from Calgary, actually listening from Calgary. Thank you for tuning in. Says, that's this week's take. Hey, Leslie.
It changed.
That's this week's take in Calgary and changes every week. They are not making the playoffs. I agree. They will fade.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. Adam Douglas throws out the name Colton Parayko and Rasmus Ristolainen, which I do think both fit what the Jets, I think, are going to look for on the right side, and that's size and ability to move a bit. I've long said Colton Parayko, I do believe, would be a pretty nice Josh Morrissey fit in the short term. So the long term of that deal is the scary part. But hey, there might have to be some risk here at some point. Those are both interesting names. Rasmus is bounced back. I'm timid on the big, but he's shown signs every year. I'm just timid.
I
He
would
might fit in here.
I'd take a risky shot on Parayko over Risto.
Yeah, you know what I got to do? I'm going to have a lot of downtime over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to start watching some Philly games because I want to see what's going on with Riff. So I'm too curious now. Like, what has changed in his game over the last couple of years? So, I'll give a bit of an eye test report in the next coming weeks. I'm going to have more than enough time to kill.
Kurd says both of those ads keep Stanley in the lineup.
No comment. No comment. Where else is the chat going on this night?
How do you feel about Cousins and Byram from Rain on YouTube?
I'm leery about Cousins, man. I keep saying it. I'm leery on Cousins.
There's a price where I'd be willing to take the chance, but it'd have to be a real low price.
Mm-hmm. It's that contract kind of does concern me with some of the talk around that name.
Yeah.
Fun night at the barn though, honestly, too, for a Thursday night. Both games this week, so Tuesday and Thursday. They have that stage in arena now, hey, where they have Mach 10 performing quite often.
Yep.
The last two nights they've had a DJ in the rink performing, and talk about, for me, I know I'm not everybody, for me that is the perfect environment at an arena. The vibes were high. We came awfully close tonight to beating the record on the DB meter.
Nice.
That rink was buzzing on this night, and it was a fun one to be there.
Yeah, they've really improved the in-game entertainment and the in-game experience, hey, compared to just a couple years ago where it was absolutely abysmal and like a funeral procession inside.
Huge ass vibe, says Tuck from Buffalo, which again, a guy I would take in a heartbeat. If you're looking at it, Tuck would be my right winger one. Like I threw out Besser tonight. Tuck would be ahead of him for me because he does bring that speed, size, and an extra year term. Huge ass vibes also says, man, you had a prime seat right by the stage. Hey, yeah, it was awesome. We were sitting right beside it. The vibes were great. Watching the game from that angle is quite different too. Seeing that DeMello snipe up close.
Yeah, I bet.
And huge ass vibes though. When am I gonna get to see this Norm Macdonald creation coming? I was looking for it tonight. I was watching the screen all night looking for this thing.
In response to your Ristolainen wonderings, Adam Douglas over on YouTube says Brandon Rewicki watches Philly all the time and says Risto's a totally different player now.
Yeah, and I know Brandon's a big Philly guy. I mean, I respect Brandon's opinion a lot. We had him on the show. That was one of the most fun times I had doing a podcast. So, you know what? The numbers back it up too. The analytics are great for Risto this year. I just want to kind of take a peek at what I'm getting myself into before I kind of say, yeah, let's go get Risto. Tico Napoli says Ryan Lindgren as a 3-4 D. The thing there is, I think if you were to trade for a guy like Ryan Lindgren, who's a left-handed D, you're likely acquiring him to play on your third pair at $4.5 million. And I just wonder if you could do a bit more with it.
You mean sit in the box because he'll have to wait for Logan Stanley to come out of the lineup, which isn't happening. So we'll aim for right-handers.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And Huge Ass Vibes gives me the answer I'm looking for. My boss floated maybe using it. Hard disagreed on it in the game scenario on the third. You know, that's a great call.
That's fair.
This game was going the right way in the Jets' favor. They allowed, only 3 shots in that third?
Yeah, 3 shots.
Again, after that slow start and that second period goes, and we talked about what someone in the chat had mentioned, Ehlers and Lowry really got this thing going. Once this team took off today, it was an absolute throttling of the Seattle Kraken.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Seattle looked like a team that had played on the road for 5 games straight coming in. Like they were completely gassed out. They put everything they had into that first period. And to be fair, like over the course of the game, because and I like to spend time on the opposing team's social media, kind of seeing what their fans are into and things. This was their Stanley Cup final game tonight. They were absolutely loving the fact that the Kraken were hanging in there despite getting absolutely shellacked. They were impressed that it was tied. They were like, "Oh my god, are they actually going to get to OT?" And then, of course, so it was, they look like a team that were gassed, and the Jets put it right to them. So, I think earlier in other shows you'd mentioned maybe Wallman. Is that still somebody that you think the Jets might look at?
Sorry, who is that? I zoned
Wallman?
out there for a second. Jake Wallman?
Yep.
Out of San Jose. That is a name I do think is an interesting one if you're looking to limit your costs. Like we've talked.
If they can't find the big name, right?
Right, and that would be a guy I think you can get at an affordable price that would be an improvement on the blue line, and probably in the price range that we've seen the Jets make similar moves for. I could see that kind of one. Kurt Ferguson says, "I'm a big Norm Macdonald guy. Ovs, whatever this is, better make it to Twitter for those of us too far to be in the barn." And I'm sure me and Huge Ass Vibes can make that happen. We'll make sure. I'm a huge Norm guy too. After I got a little hint on this Norm thing, I think I spent the whole afternoon listening to all of his best bits. R.I.P. Norm, miss that guy.
He was the GOAT.
He really was, man. He really was.
Terry Ferguson, funny name.
Lucas Trapp's feeling himself tonight. They should trade for McDavid as the 2C.
That'd be too many Connors on the team. That'd be too confusing.
Yeah, we already have the best Connor in the league in the pipes. We don't need to add the second best one, right? Another easy night for Connor Hellebuck.
Yep. Yeah, that was another just clean game for him. I don't know if he was even awake. 18 saves on 19 shots. The poor guy was probably talking to the goalposts for most of the game.
Yeah, he gets beat on a 2-on-1 backdoor. Was the back check late? It was kind of hard to tell from my angle. Was my only question on that play.
It was. Yeah, it was late.
That's what I thought. Morrissey got kind of hung out to dry there, but
yep,
that's the only goal they give up. It's all good.
They hadn't woken up yet, right? That's still when they were still half asleep trying to play that game. So it's frustrating that it's 2 games in a row where, he probably could have had a real simple, real easy shutout, but gets hung up by somebody kind of falling asleep at the wheel. But, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Gilbert Marion mentions an interesting center here, actually, where I kind of wonder about him in between Nino and Perfetti a little bit, and that's Trent Frederick out of Boston.
Oh, interesting.
Little bit of size, a little bit of that fight in him, though a quality player by underlines a lot of his career.
Yep.
As a 3C with a guy like Nino and Perfetti, I'm intrigued by that, Gilbert.
Yeah, the style fits. It gives the Jets some size that they like there. That's an interesting one. I hadn't considered that.
Yeah, I would like that one, actually. And you're looking at something like Scheif, Lowry, Frederick, Nemestikov as your 4Cs. That looks... Obviously, it doesn't... You don't have the high end, but you have quite good depth that's really hard to play against.
Yeah, I'll roll those lines against pretty much any team come playoff time, especially with some added scoring there. Yeah, I like that. That's good. I hadn't considered that.
Mikey, I got a question for you because I know you were paying attention to it. On this whole lineup construction thing, did we get anything from Scott Arneal tonight post game?
No mention of it in the post game. Not specifically, anyways. Just answered the questions about the specific guys, about DeMello, about Lowry, about Ehlers, but nothing about his the lineup construction and if it's going to stay. We're going to have to kind of wait with bated breath to see what the lines look like come practice time.
Group.
Yeah, with a healthy group.
Pat Tony 202 says Connor stopped on the back check, and that's
Yes.
exactly what I was wondering because I thought he was at him, but my angle was a little tough for that kind of situation.
It almost looked like he didn't realize it was happening until a little like a second too late, and then it was too late.
He was right with Kako the blind. Actually, Capo Kako kind of impressed me today. Surprisingly,
And,
he seems to have a new lease on life out in Seattle.
10 points in 13 games now with Seattle. That's hashtag not bad. So yeah, he's the change of scenery is doing pretty good for him.
It seems like the chat is liking the idea of Trent Frederick. Michael Hem says +1 on Trent Frederick. Rain says Frederick would be a big get for the playoffs. Julian says Frederick would protect Ehlers. Deacona Pauly says, would Gus run Frederick in practice, though? I think Gus learned what would happen if that
Yeah,
happens.
try
so
not
I
to do
think
that
he's gonna be he's probably gonna be leery on that one. Zooch40 says Kako was a steal for Borgen. That's like trading Stanley for Kako. And we do have a question of, can we give Boston Stanley for Frederick from Lucas Trapp? They missed their tall D-man.
Sold.
I do wonder what Frederick would cost, actually. That is an intriguing name given this new construction. I'm really intrigued by that one.
Yeah, we'll have to take a little bit of a deep dive into Frederick and see what we can find out about that.
Yeah. Anywhere else you want to go? I know I've been bouncing off the walls here. Getting a little tired. Anywhere else you would like to go with the show tonight, Mikey?
No, I think we hit all the big points that I've got.
Well, you know what? We're gonna call this one early. We're gonna dive into the 3 stars. I'm gonna try and get some early sleep with my situation tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm hoping this show won't be missing for more than a week, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. But let's dive into it. Oh no, hey, actually, before we dive into the 3 stars, Michael Hems names a guy that I really do enjoy as well, and that is, I'm still all in as Gord as the 3C, but Frederick would be a fan fave here. Gord with the Nino Perfetti thing is really interesting to me too as well.
Yeah, the Yanni Gord would be an absolute. He'd be a treat on that line. Him and Nino would be. They'd run roughshod against other teams' third lines. Are you kidding?
I'm really curious what Seattle does. Like, they have a lot of quality names over there for a team that's just going nowhere.
Yeah, they've got pieces. It's they kind of need to decide if they're gonna kind of blow it up a little bit and try to restock, or I don't know. But it's a weird situation right now. They're stuck in no man's land, which we kind of used to be for a while.
Yeah, no, true enough. Rain asks, wasn't here, but what's happening tomorrow? So I'm going in for a little surgery. Something popped up over the last couple of weeks. Very fortunate to find it early. We're getting it taken care of. Should be good after tomorrow, but I'll likely need some downtime. I'll open up about it all after everything's passed and I have a clearer mind on what's happening, and there's still a lot of unanswered questions on my end, and I do think it would be important to share that kind of thing with this community we've built. This I know there's a lot of fellas in the community as well, and maybe a little PSA wouldn't be a bad idea. So getting something taken care of. We'll be back soon. All I'm looking forward to, honestly, I absolutely love being here after every game, getting to see what you, the fans, want to hear, getting to chat with you guys. That I'll likely push it that this show won't be missing too long.
Oh yeah, we'll be back. Don't you worry, and we'll make sure Nick is happy, healthy, and ready to keep dropping takes on you guys.
For good and for worse, eh?
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, let's get out of here a little early today. Let's get into the 3 stars. As we touched on everything I was looking to get to in this one, and let's get out of here.
Right on. So we got for 3 stars. Ooh, that's the wrong game. I'm looking at yesterday's game. There we go. All right, my 3rd star. 2 games, kind of back to back. I'm giving this guy a star because I like doing victory laps and saying "I told you so." More Cole Perfetti. I keep loving what I keep seeing from Cole Perfetti. Didn't find the scoreboard in this one. The goal is gonna come, I promise. But every time I focus in and watch him in a game, I come away impressed each time lately. So those points are coming, I promise. Cole Perfetti, I really liked it. 2nd star, I'm going, this may be a little bit surprising, but 2nd star is going to be Dylan DeMello. He gets the goal, 600th game. It's the game winner. He gets to be the hero. 27 seconds left. That was, it's storybook ending. You couldn't write it any better. So he gets the second star. And number one star, man, it's the host of the show. It's the lineman. It's the guy who is the top in the top line. He is the one who is why we're all here tonight. Nik Lynam's our number one star. You're the fucking best, man. And it sucks that we're going to miss a couple games, but we're happy that you're going to be feeling better afterwards. So, yeah, you're my number one star, dude.
You definitely know how to hype up a guy with an ego kink. That's for sure. I'm getting a little giddy here. I'm gonna have to get off the camera. I'm gonna go in this one. I'm gonna go a little different. I'm gonna go third star. Let's go with Alex Iafallo. We reward a lot of the bigger names. We reward a lot of things. I really liked his role in that line's success. He's a guy that I think's really elevated his game in the roles he's been thrown into. I thought he was really key at helping that line turn things over tonight. The work ethic's there, and I think he had an excellent night, despite the fact we're talking about by the playoffs, upgrading him to a scorer. Alex Iafallo worked like a dog. Alex Iafallo is going to be my number one star, or number 3 star. I'm going to go with the centerman, too. Big Adam Lowry was really driving the bus on that group today. The Winnipeg Jets 2C. Everyone's got to get around this idea that Adam Lowry is the 2C. Darren Dreger's talking about it. Darren Dreger's talking about trading for the best player available, Mikey. Are you still feeling like the Jets aren't buying? I think we're about to see one of the biggest. I think we're about to see one of the biggest arms races we've seen between Dallas, Winnipeg, Colorado, and Vegas. That's where I think this is trending.
Yep.
And Adam Lowry jumping into that role, him and Nick Ehlers really working, really changes the trajectory of what that might mean for Winnipeg. Adam Lowry is going to be my number 2 star in this game. And Dylan DeMello, second goal of the year. Tough first half of the year, starting to come on. Jumps into the open gap. Nick Ehlers finds him and absolutely rips a snipe from the offensive juggernaut. Just kidding. Dylan DeMello gets the love on this night, and I'm going to give a platinum star. It's even better than a first star. It's even better than a first star to this chat. I appreciate all the kind words, the messages of support, everything you guys have thrown behind me with the news coming out and this show in general every single night. You guys make this a ton of fun. Some of the games, honestly, I'm more excited to come be here with you than to be at the rink. And I look forward to getting back here. Thank you very much for all your support. Thank you very much for seeing the value in the show and wanting to be here. I love being here with all of you, and I just very much appreciate it.
Right on, guys. You all know the drill. Tell 2 friends to tell 2 friends. Rate, review, and remember, it's the landing strip for your Winnipeg Jets postgame.